Alright, so I told you that you can think of view as a div and text as a paragraph, but let me give you a bit more explanation on what's going on here. So I have a bit of a comment here. So React components, which is text and view, we have imported from React Native. These are React components. I guess these are pre-built components that we can simply import from there and start using. Okay, so these components wrap existing native code and interact with native APIs. The code that you use if you're building the native apps for iOS, you would be using a programming language called which one they use at the moment? That one, Objective-C. No, that was before. Now they use Swift. Okay, so you have to learn the programming language called Swift if you want to build native apps for iOS, and for Android it is Java, I guess. Yeah. So luckily, since you know JavaScript, you don't have to learn those two different languages. So the point I'm trying to make here is, if you wanted to build a native apps which feels native, the performance is absolutely great, right? So to build such apps, you have to write the native code. Luckily, with React Native, you can write JavaScript code, but what these components help you do is these components wrap the existing native code and interact with the native APIs. So even though you're writing JavaScript code, you are actually building a native apps, which gives you the best performance and user experience. All right. So there is another way of building the apps, which is showing the web view. So basically, it will appear as an app, but when users using it, you are actually showing them the website version of it in the mobile device. So you may have used such apps in real life as well. Some apps, they really laggy and they don't feel like you're using the mobile apps. They're slow and then they're laggy, you know. So that kind of apps, most likely they are wrapping the web view and they're presenting you as an app, but it is actually the web app running behind the scene. So in that case, the performance will be very poor. However, with React Native, we actually build the native apps because these components wrap the existing native code and interact with native APIs. All right, so some of these components we have already used, that is text and view, and there are a lot more which we will obviously discover during this course. Now, before we go ahead and learn how to layout, because that's one of the most important things you want to learn beforehand. For example, this text sitting right here horizontally and vertically right in the middle of the screen. So how do you move this text here on the upper left or upper right, or maybe the lower left, lower right? You know, how do you position elements? How do you position these contents on the screen? That is one of the most important things you want to learn, and that's where we're going. So we will be using the flexbox to achieve the layout we want. But before we do that, let me quickly show you the status bar, which I deleted in the previous video. And let me show you, give you a bit of an example of how you can customize the status bar right here. At the moment, it's all plain white. You can't really see anything. So let me bring that back. And here you can see style at the moment is auto. And as soon as you have the auto, you saw the time is here, battery and Wi-Fi sign is there. But if you didn't have this one, you can see that's gone. Okay, so that's the status bar. And I guess this one has other properties you can use. Style, you can use light. Okay, so light, it's really not visible. If we had the black background, probably then we can see, but at the moment no. Let me try dark. Okay, so with that it shows, or even auto it shows. Anyways, we might work more on the status bar later, but this is how you can use this. And if you want to learn more about that, you can also status bar, you can have a look at it in the documentation. because there are different ways of styling it. All right, so in the next video we go ahead and learn to layout using Flexbox.